Judge dismisses Trump's Florida classified documents case.
We saw President Trump say what I believe was fight. That was his first instinct. And let's remember January 6th.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
The former president just rallied the mob to attack.
There was somebody walking around wearing a ski mask yesterday, as well as a Scream mask, okay, like from the movie Scream, you know, with a tactical bag and an AK, ready to rock, just headed towards the RNC. And I found like nothing, just cursory details. All I could find out was like a little bit of stuff on Twitter. What we have here is potentially a mass event that was stopped. A man with an AK, I guess must have been like filed down. I'm not sure exactly what, you know, if you look up what this particular weapon is, it's a short variant. Well, Trump himself, as well as his newly named running mate, J.D. Vance, were inside. PD encountered a man with a ski mask and a weapon outside. Now, the 21-year-old man is in custody and awaiting charges after Milwaukee PD say he was stopped by Capitol Police on the street outside of the security perimeter, which extends for several blocks around the building. Put it this way, it's a long walk past about 1 million cops to get where you need to get. Upon searching the individual, troubling discoveries were also made. In addition to his ski mask, he was carrying obviously his AK and a full clip. Just one? Well, you didn't have enough money to buy more than one? Actually, that's not really a burn anymore. Like that's just, I mean, what? Yeah, that's not really, I can't afford to carry around more than one. Officers
pull it
with, and
so we've got the news on the record from two different sources through Jeremy right there. A kid who's 1 year older than the alleged lone gunman in the other place tries to penetrate the perimeter. And fortunately, he didn't get made into Swiss cheese. There were thoughtful people with zip ties, and they can go have a conversation with them. Maybe we can find out who's winding these people up. Because if we go into the stories that we're going to cover later, you're going to see some hallmarks of things that we've covered in the past, such as books like this, where they manufacture the terrorism to increase their budgets. And a lot of these people would not be doing the things they're accused of if the FBI and taxpayer dollars weren't in there stimulating it artificially. You might call it entrapment. They call it budget justification. So there's things like that we have to consider. But overall, what did you think of that, Scott?
I hadn't heard about that. That's crazy. And like to his point, like nobody's covering it. You know what I mean? Like just in the wake of what had happened, what transpired the weekend before, you'd think that something like that would be relatively noteworthy, newsworthy, you know? So, yeah, that is really interesting. And then all my meme channels and nothing popped up. Usually I get my news from my memes, like, you know what I mean? Like a meme will pop up and be like, oh, wow, I need to look into that. Like the Hawk Tua lady, I found out about that. I was like, why are there so many memes with this lady? What is this? Like, what is going on,
it?
Right?
What is Hawk Tua?
You don't know about Hawk Tua?
No, I don't.
Oh my God. Oh, this is so funny.
Educate me.
Well, actually it happened in Nashville, and it's kind of profane, maybe not for a family show like this, but it was like a man on the street interview where a gal was describing her method for providing oral copulation on a gentleman. And she's like, you just got to go Hawk Tua and spit on that thing is basically her quote. And it just went totally viral. And all the memes were just like her, like of her face doing the Hawk Tua face on everything. And then she probably made like $1 million like selling Hawk Tua merch like that week, and everything. It was like the huge biggest thing. So anyway, so maybe, yeah. So, but anyway, all that to say, like
different strokes for different folks.
Exactly. So that was like the big thing. Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, usually it'll pop up in a meme channel and be like, okay, I have to investigate this further, right? Like this last week, it was all about sloped roofs. That's how I found out about sloped roofs. It was like,
did you see the cows? LD.
Yes.
Lawrence, can you find cows on roofs? Because I did not. I mean, I kind of knew this, but I hadn't really seen it visually, right? I know cows can walk up steps and they can't like walk back down steps. So like there's things you could do with cows to play jokes on people who don't know about cows. Cow tipping beyond. Cow steps are more fun. You put a cow on someone's roof, now we got a bloody mess to clean up because they're not gonna walk. So anyway,
yeah.
in the absence of like the Secret Service saying, well, you know, because of OSHA and that roof's too slopey and it's got too much slant, then I saw when I was just posting something about maybe the Mindset conference, I saw the cows on the roofs, steeper roofs, much steeper roofs.
Much steeper roofs.
What do we got, LD?
That's yeah, it's from Pulp Fiction, right?
Yep.
That scene from Pulp Fiction. That's the first one I found.
So when you see something like that, you're like, what is this in reference to? So then you have to go investigate it. And so really what that says, it's like, it's not diminishing my credibility as a researcher or a truth seeker by getting my news from memes. It's more of a commentary on the mainstream news that I have to get my news from memes because you guys don't know how to do your damn jobs. So
memes are interesting because they don't contain the whole idea. You have to have some experience that relates to that to be able to fill it in. Otherwise, yes, we have to like, why is this a meme? What's going on here? What is Haktua? Right? Like these sort of things that I neglected to ask in the past couple of weeks, apparently. So cows on roofs. I saw them in like Britain, like really steep roofs with really big cows that were up there. And it's a thing. So for the Secret Service, who was already guarding 2 roofs with sniper teams 1 and 2, I am now being informed in the past couple hours through watching some stuff, there might have been 4 counter sniper teams. I don't know about that. Why didn't they mention any of this stuff earlier? Because now they're trying to say that open window where you would expect the second shooter to be. They're saying, oh, those were our shooters in there. And I'm like, well, that's even more coincidental that you had snipers in the window from which everyone, we're going to look at the graphics. 9 out of 10 news agencies report the sniper in the wrong place, which covers the second shooter and all this other stuff that we have to get into. So yeah, there's a lot more to these things than meets the eye. And it is like about seeing the puppet strings and the puppet holders of the deep state and how they make these things on stage, right? This is where we go backstage. We look at the lights, we look at the set, we look at the props, we look at the people manning these things, and now we can have a better understanding. But if you just sit in the audience and you're like, oh, it's a lone gunman and let's go have a barbecue, nothing to see here. America's democracy is safe. Our children's future of freedom is secure. We can go like party. No, that's not what's going on. In fact, it's quite the opposite. And they want us to relax at a time when we need to be vigilant and verify who, what, where, when, why, and how of these situations and make sure there's actually evidence we're discussing and building toward conclusions, et cetera. So,
yeah. Yeah. And really the only other thing that stood out too was like, you know, going down memory lane, seeing all those Trump clips, that whole compilation, the ORF compilation. It's like, you know, I'm just so used to the mainstream just being so unhinged, you know, the derangement around their portrayal of Trump in every way, shape, or form, like every single tiny aspect that they can get a dig at him in any way, like they will take full advantage of it and blow it way out of proportion. And that's just the norm. Like everyone's used to that, but it's surreal seeing, especially in the last week, seeing so many of the people that were, you know, like the Zuckerberg thing. I don't know if that's going to be coming up later. You know what I mean? Like these people that were just so hell bent, like just a death.
They were never Trumpers.
Yeah, there's like pure death,
like
beyond. Yeah, beyond. Just like, yes, exactly. But like pure death wish towards this guy. Now they're like, oh, that's the most badass ass thing I've ever seen. You know what I mean? It's just like to see the shift has been really interesting. It's like, is that part of the agenda? Are they giving him the softball? Are they just want him in? Like, I don't know, man. Like that's been really weird too.
Also, it's worth noting Elon Musk has promised Trump $45 million a month till the election. So it's like $200 million or something like that in campaign support. Terror Factory, if you want to know how these guys, like I would say these guys identify their potential targets, but the mainstream media goes a long way to just bathing these people in armed insurrection and Trump derangement syndrome and these other things to wind them up. In other words, I don't think the FBI has enough constant contact with these wind up type of characters that they're the ones directly doing it. They're just kind of guiding the situation and helping to make sure that there's, you know, a breach in security. So when you show up to do your thing, no one's going to, you know what I'm saying? They're more operational. They depend on mainstream media and the toxification of the mind that comes through listening to like the places that purvey those very inaccurate portrayals of reality that we heard in the Matt Orfalea clip.
Yeah.
And there's many more like that on just about every topic that those people talk about on those channels. So much more to be learned. But again, manufacturing of terror is much more convenient. You can do it on a schedule. You get all your budget dates hit and everything like that. You can't be waiting for, you know, people to just randomly go plan to kidnap a governor. But if you get a bunch of your guys involved and suggest it and, you know, step by step these people toward that thing, and then they got too far and you drop the clamp on them, right? That's a bear trap. That's really a man trap in this case, right? The entrapment is part of the whole process. It's described in here. So, we've talked about it on the show. Actually, could we go to Clip Genie and look up Terror Factory or Trevor Aronson? Because I'm pretty sure we have talked about this book in depth on this show, but I can't remember when and where we did it. And if I can't show the evidence, is it really real? Clip Genie, maybe you can find the evidence for us. We can make it real for more people.
Terror Factory. Yeah, we got episode 186, episode 184, 179. Let me just
Can you share your screen?
These are all. Can I? Oh, there's Terror Factories. That's interesting. Can I share my screen? Maybe I can. Hold on. I don't have ability to share. Maybe LD can just pull it up.
Yeah, good. gtw.clipgenie.com is where we're at.
Yeah,
I'm typing in.
And I've been, if you type it in quotes, it will search the actual phrase, much like
look at this.
Google.
I got you.
Yep.
And then LD, will you search the author's name in your side on the browser? Sure. But all these episodes we have talked about this book. So there's probably 20.
Yep.
References.
And you guys all watching out there, you can click on that episode. It'll take you right to the timestamp where he talks about it. And if you like it, if you feel inspired right in this moment, I encourage you to take that clip, download the clip, put it on Twitter, tag Rich, and share it. And
apparently,
get a retweet too. I don't know.
When John McAfee got schwacked, we talked about it. Let's view that. Here's the places in the transcript. We could pull this up. We could share it on social media. And yes, if you tag me and or Scott, we will check our Twitter this week and share things like this, because it's important that other people see that this type of resource is available for their work, for their productions, for their catalog, right? It's not just Adele Bigtree out there who needs it and has substantial work that it does. Like, if you do substantial things, you want to be able to reference it. If you're doing inconsequential, disposable media, then you don't need Clip Genie in your life. You've got really nothing. Like, you got to build something right now because everything you've done doesn't add up to much today because it's disposable. But if you make evergreen pieces, which my entire production history are pieces of evergreen history. If you go back to 9/11 Synchronicity Podcast or Peace Revolution, it will apply to what's going on today as much as it did in 2006 or 2007 or 2008, whatever. That is worth having Clip Genie for, having that investment so I can find my own work, and then being able to provide the audience so that they can find those clips. Where's Operation Gladio? Where do we talk about Operation Paperclip? Where do we talk about the Zapruder film? These sort of things. If I have thousands of hours of published productions, I'm not going to find that anytime soon, and neither is anybody else, because over the years, you've got different websites and redos and moving stuff over, and things get lost in the shuffle. Clip Genie goes in, archives and indexes the whole thing, and now we can find it within seconds. So
that's the plug. That's a plug right there, man.
Thanks, Scott and Dean.
Dude, thank you. Yes, shout out to Dean. So I'll tell you another funny story. So on Friday, I was listening to Alex Jones on Friday, and he was freaking out because of all of the cyber attacks. He's like, I've been talking about this 200 times in the last 2 months. 200 times. All of you, go back in the shows, find any time I've mentioned cyber attacks, make a clip, tag Real Alex Jones on Twitter. And he's like, I got all the producers pouring through all the videos right now, trying to find any time I mention it. And I texted Rob Deal. I was like, Rob, I've talked to Rob a little bit about it. I'm not trying to push it on
for
him
sure,
because they got a lot going on. But I texted Rob. I'm like, Rob, dude, we have the technology. And he's like, okay, put something together for us. We'll go from there. And I'm like, okay. So we're working on a little sample for Alex right now. So that's kind of cool.
All right. And good. There might be once you're putting that together, if you get a legit archive that starts to centralize Alex's life's work again, I'll look through my archives too. Once upon a time, like when I discovered Alex Jones around 2004, I went back and listened to every show he did since June of 2001. When he made that prediction, I was like, how did he know that? All that stuff. So as I would be listening to March 31st, 2005, I'd also be listening to March 31st, 2002. And so I would listen to current news. And then after it was done, I was jonesing, if you will. There was nothing else. There was Prison Planet TV, but there's nothing new posted. I'm like, where can I get more data? So I would go back and listen to his prior shows and stuff like that. So there's a wealth of information to be organized and leveraged, not by Alex, but by the audience of people who are trying to understand these things. And for good or ill, he was the guy on the scene collecting those things at the time before we even had like internet access and the notion of like, we can record stuff and share it with people, you know?
Yeah.
So it's important to like preserve what we can while we can, because they're trying to destroy his footprint on this planet. So the future doesn't know about Alex Jones.
Yeah, totally. And I just want to reiterate, you guys, maybe, you know, I'm sure a lot of you heard about this but Grand Theft World is live on Clip Genie, gtw.clipgenie.com. Every single episode is archived. Any topic, any phrase, search it. If there's something that you're talking to a friend about, find that clip and share it on social media. That's the whole point of this thing, is to get the content of Grand Theft World clips, digestible clips out into the public. And that's where all of you come in. Like, that's how you guys can be involved and actually really support the show. So really take advantage of that tool, because it's pretty powerful.
We've got the documents and we put it in the productions. But if you don't watch the productions live, then you might not see it. And this is the way we can help people to see it when they're ready to see it. Right. So much more to be learned in that topic area. Twice a year, I teach a course called Autonomy. It's a 12-week course. It teaches leadership, entrepreneur skills, executive skills, all these types of things that I saw were taken out of our education system in order to make the schooling or indoctrination system that we've all probably went through. And it has served us well enough to be interchangeable cogs in the machine of the globalists. But if we want a homestead, if we want write our own ticket, work from home job, work from anywhere type of situation, they're not exactly handing those out at the end of college. They give you a piece of paper and they're like, good luck. So reality is dropping us off here, but the demands of reality are up here. So I created Autonomy to help people close that gap for themselves so they can level up their skills to the demands of the situations that life is putting in front of us presently. Life's demands of intellect and understanding precision and complexity are ever increasing. The schooling didn't prepare us for it. The media is not going to do anything but reinforce what schooling prepared us for. And so we're going to have to take a leadership position and take steps off the beaten path to kind of blaze our own trail in life. What makes the Grand Theft World podcast unique, invigorating, exciting, and informative? Most other podcasts out there are either doing straight up interviews or they're just covering the daily news. They're covering current events from the day they happened. And that is effective. It's useful. It's a great starting point. And then sometimes these current events change during the week past the first story. So we like to give it a little time. You have to wait till some of the dust settles on these stories in order to give them accurate coverage. And the other thing that's really missing in the media landscape is covering the articles that are coming out every day. That's great. That's necessary. But who's bringing in contextual history so that you can understand what has been going on for decades and decades to lead up to the machinations and actions that we see unfolding today? So what we do here on the podcast is we cover current events. Many of these things are censored, but we wait about a week. As a forensic historian, I focused mainly through my career on the history of globalism and collectivism and things that they call maybe the New World Order. There's a lot of facts to these sort of circumstances, groups, events, activities, working groups that they've had over time. So for Grand Theft World listeners, we not only break down the current events, most of which that are censored during the week, we provide you with contextual history, we give you the source notes, the references, we do deep dives, and this really empowers you with an understanding of context and history so that you can make more informed decisions in your life. There's also a community, a membership where you guys can actually ask questions and we can get into the show and we can share evidence. And there's a town hall weekly for Grand Theft World for those who listen to it and are interested in covering the stories that we don't get to during a 6-hour show. Listening to it an hour a day, you could easily consume the week's news, but you're going to have substance and meaning and context and understanding. And with that, you can make higher quality decisions in your life. So if you're interested in more quality in your life, go to grandtheftworld.com, click podcast at the top, and we'll see you there. Thank you.
These allegations are false.
This isn't Grand Theft Auto, folks. This isn't a video game.
What are the most surprising things that you discovered once you started pulling on that thread? Who he was connected to, what institutions he was influential over, what events he participated in?
Come on, man. What are we talking about? Come on, man.
No. You don't have to think about it, dude.
I got this quote because you said you didn't know much about Klaus Schwab. I made it my job to, as soon as this happened, I'm like, okay, this guy's their front man. Let me learn about the official history of the World Economic Forum. I got their 40-year history. I got every book that Klaus Schwab has written or ghostwritten. I went through those books. This is one of the most interesting passages.
Come on, man. Come